A power boil-over as Port Adelaide is smashed by Sam Mitchell's Hawthorn. Brisbane star back to his Brownlow best. And Buddy Mania sweeps through Sydney as Lance Franklin rewrites the record books. Hello and welcome to The Round So Far, brought to you by Amy. I'm Riley Beveridge. This is Kane Corns. And Kane, what a weekend it's been.
Oh, how many upsets, how many shocking results, great highlights, but all in all, it's been another great start to round two.
Can't wait to start talking about it. And if we are talking about the big story of the weekend, it can only feature the biggest name in football. Lance Franklin becoming just the sixth player in AFL, VFL history to kick 1,000 goals. This was just such an incredible moment.
Yeah, one of the best things I've ever seen. Left it late, 6 minutes to go. He was on the bench from the 13-minute mark to the 10th. They finally got him back out there. Chad Warner had no option but to kick him the ball. And then you saw this, we knew we were going to see unbelievable scenes. I didn't quite expect it to be quite as memorable as this. I thought the way that he handled himself under what must have been, claustrophobic and very overwhelming circumstances, I thought was a credit to him. But have a look at it. It's a moment that you'll just remember where you were forever and what a player he's been, and he's been an absolute joy to watch, and we're lucky to have witnessed it.
We might never see it again. When did you know he was going to be as good as he is? You've played against him, obviously, in the past. When did you know he was going to be this much of a cult figure? I was
having a think about this today. I reckon it was his second game. He played Richmond at the MCG 2005. Hawthorn were going no good at the time. They were rebuilding. They had all these young draft picks coming through, and he kicked 3, I think, and you thought something there. And he was skinny and he was raw, we knew that, but there was something unique about the way that he played. And then in 2008, a few years later, played the Victorian versus the Dream Team game, and you just understood how big of a rock star he was going to be, and probably the most watchable player that I've seen, certainly in my generation, and did it a different way. Not a great contested mark. A lot of shots on goal. I think he's had about 1,700 shots on goal in his time because of his inaccuracies, which is amazing to think when you're not a great overhead mark. But yeah, maybe he's got another season or two left in him.
Let's hope so. We'll get to more of Sydney Geelong later in the show. But we want to start at the Adelaide Oval, where, as we mentioned off the top, there was a massive boil-over. Hawthorn defeating Port Adelaide by 64 points. The Hawks kicked 13 straight from set shots. And a lot of it was situations like these where they got one-on-ones deep inside 50.
Yeah, really well coached. They isolated Port Adelaide's defenders. Now, they're undermanned, undersized defence. Alir's not there, Cleary's not there, McKenzie was sore. So look at the amount of times they were able to separate and get one-on-ones with their direct opponent. And then the ball use was just unbelievable from Hawthorn. I think this was the most surprising result I can remember in a long, long time. For Hawthorn to go over there, a lot of people tipping them to be bottom 4, including myself. Port Adelaide up the other end, and to win by 10 goals, 64 points. Mitch Lewis kicked 5, Bruce and Gunston did some damage in the forward line, and the efficiency with the way their midfield moved the ball into the forward 50 was as good as I've seen. So what a start. Sam Mitchell, Michael Voss, Craig McRae, 2-0. How easy is this?
It's awesome. Port Adelaide, a lot to worry about with a showdown next week. They're now 0-2 on the year. They won clearance by 25. They won inside 50s by 12. But what leads to them getting smashed so comprehensively?
Second rate, the ball use for the second week in a row has been bottom 4 standard. Now have a look at the fumbles, the ball use, indecision. They went wide, they went slow. And if I told you before the game, Amon and Boak would have 39, Wines would have 36, and Butters would have 29, you think they'd win. It just goes to show how useless possessions are at times in this game. Mitchell has 28 and O'Meara has 22, but this is why. A lot of junk possessions that their midfield got. So they got a lot of issues. Port Adelaide supporters are frustrated with Ken Hinkley, and that was the case in the off-season, and the club as a whole. So they're going to have to be really brave. They're going to need strong leadership. It's round 2. There's a long way to go in the season, but alarm bells ringing everywhere with the dysfunction of their forward line, how uncompetitive their key backs were, and how inefficient their midfield was tonight.
Not much to smile about if you are a Port Adelaide fan. This was a nice moment, though, celebrating the life of Russell Ebert. Standing ovation in the 7th minute. Xavier Dersma retiring the number 7 Guernsey for the night. Yeah, and this was the other embarrassing thing, I think, for the club. They did an amazing job to celebrate the club's greatest ever player. Di Russ's wife was there. His kids were at the ground clearly. The number 7 Guernsey from Xavier Dersma was retired. He wore number 50. And to put in a performance like that stings a little bit. So there's something a little bit, a lot off at the Port Adelaide Footy Club tonight, and they need to address that quickly ahead of a big showdown next Friday night. Just one more on Hawthorn. We both tipped them to win the Wooden Spoon at the start of the year. Do you think we underestimated their youngsters on this list?
Maybe. Yeah, I think you just got to temper it a bit. You remember, I think Adelaide won 3 out of their first 4 last year and beat Geelong in round 1. You thought, wow, how good is this? So, look, what I love about it is the mix of youth and experience. I mean, they're experienced players, Sicily, Gunston and Bruce, all having a big impact. He was brave enough to drop Shields, which was a big selection omission. And then you get the young players coming through with the excitement and the speed. They just look really sharp tonight, and thought they were tough around the footy, but then their ability to burst out and get to the next contest and the way they use the ball. Got to remember, they kicked 13 straight from set shots. Yeah. Like, that may never be done.
Doesn't happen much.
Well, I don't know if that'll ever be done again. 13 straight, including snaps from the boundary line. So everything went right, but full credit to them. Came in with a plan, isolated Port Adelaide's defenders, maximised the damage on the scoreboard, and, big game next week against, I think they got the Cats.
Yep. To Marvel Stadium now, where it was Joe Daniher's first game against Essendon in Melbourne. He kicked 2 goals. The Bombers came out hot. They were fired up after their round 1 loss, led all of the major statistical categories early, but then they're such an emotional team, and when things start going against them, everything goes against them.
They couldn't stop it. So, a great response, as you said, in the first quarter, as opposed to the first quarter against Geelong last week, but then concede 6 goals again, and then concede another 3. Yeah. So I was wrapped for them, particularly around the ball and the way that their midfield responded and their prime movers got going, and Peter Wright played one of the best first quarters you've ever seen. But then what happens when it's not going your way? And we've seen significant momentum swings already in round 2 across the competition. The best sides limit that damage. Yep. It's 2 goals. It's not 6. And that's what really cost the Bombers. They were inaccurate as well in the forward line. But look, it wasn't a disastrous performance, but once again, they start the season 0-2, same as they started last year, and it just makes it hard to get yourself back into the season. And Ben Rutten's got a few questions.
He certainly does. One of them revolved today around whether or not to tag Lachie Neale. His last 3 games against Essendon, 2 Brownlow votes, 3 Brownlow votes, 3 Brownlow votes. Certain to get another 3. 41 disposals, 12 clearances and 2 goals. He is our Saturday star.
Yeah, it was a midfield masterclass from Lachie Neale, and I thought, particularly in the second half. So he was the one that got them going in the third quarter. You see it here. So some of the stuff he does is just so clean, and he works so hard on his cleanliness around the ball. You blink and you miss it. And the way that he can work from contest to contest. And when he starts to do this and goes forward and scores, they're really well balanced with their scoring power. Daniher kicks 2, Neale kicks 2, McCluggage, Bailey kicked 2, Cameron kicked 2. So the spread of goal scorers that they've got means that they're just not reliant like Essendon were on Stringer and Wright today. Yeah. But they should have put some more time into him. I thought Essendon's midfield was extremely undisciplined with the lack of attention they gave him, particularly when he got going. And that was the same with Dangerfield last week. They just couldn't limit the damage of the superstar midfield.
Speaking of undisciplined, there was a moment when the game was right there to be won with James Stewart on the goal line. What did you make of this? Because it screamed lack of effort.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking. It's complete brain fade. Now, whether he thought that ball was going to go through the behinds, I don't know. I don't have an excuse for that. I haven't really seen much like this before. Look at the score there. Look at the time. So, such a tight game at that moment, a critical, pivotal moment. Went to the score review and he clearly just didn't try. I don't know. He looks bemused. He should only be bemused at himself. You'd have a really stern talking to him about that, and you'd want to hear a valid reason, because it's hard to come up with one right now.
To Metricon Stadium, where Melbourne beat Gold Coast only just. The Suns, I don't think they could have played the Demons any better in the first 15 minutes, but they just missed so many opportunities. And if you're going to beat the reigning premiers, you need to kick goals like these.
Yeah, that was the case, wasn't it? I mean, just it's so flattening and deflating. And once again, they'll be pretty proud of their effort tonight. Melbourne are clearly the best side in it. They're the team to beat. Took Miller was amazing, 21 first half disposals for him, but that hurts. Like, hitting the post there hurts, and all of a sudden you can be, look at the score, 5 scores before Melbourne have even had one. If that's 4 goals, 2 or something similar, then you're right into it. So a pretty brave performance, go down by 13 against the best side in the comp, but you look back and you go, if they're going to take the next level, and if they're going to play finals, these are the games in those positions that you're going to have to win.
Melbourne kicked 6 of the next 7 goals after those misses, so they were key. And the big player in that run of goals for Melbourne was Luke Jackson. Now, he played awesome in that grand final last year. This was just about the best individual game I've seen him play. 21 disposals, 17 hitouts, 7 clearances and 2 goals.
It was almost a triple-double, wasn't it, in basketball terms? I mean, the combination, every team would be jealous, because most teams are going with one ruck and then a makeshift forward who comes in and pitch hits, which just often they're not competitive. So to have two genuine ruckmen that can legitimately go forward and do that is a luxury. So full credit. Their list management has just been outstanding. To target him and Cozzy Pickett in that draft from 3 or so years ago was just such shrewd recruiting to trade up and get that. And out of contract, so we'll be talking a lot about that contract, but at 21 years of age, you mentioned the 7 clearances, the 2 goals, the 17 hit-outs to go with 21 disposals, and he's got a nice nature about him. I feel like he's really coming into himself with his confidence and his aggression around the ball and his follow-up. So I think he's just as capable as Gawn in the ruck now. So to have the confidence for him to go in there and Gawn to go forward or vice versa is going to be a real luxury for Simon Goodwin.
He's adding zeros to those contracts with each passing week. All right, we'll get to the Amy clangers now, and there are a few over the weekend that caught our eye. One here from Paddy Cripps to start with. Gets cleaned up by his own teammate Charlie Curnow and dacked in the same instance.
And it didn't even stop him getting the ball out. That's how hot Patrick Cripps is. Hit heads, get dacked, but still be able to dispose of the ball under significant pressure with an effective handball. So that's great. These three got stuck on the wrong side.
Yeah, we see Ollie Florent, Nick Blakey over there. They even came back in through the wrong entry into the ground, so they had to go outside of the ground to get back into the ground, which was remarkable. And how was this at the G? Fire alarm going off. False alarm in the end, but everyone on their feet, out of the ground.
Thought there was a fire. Thought there was a fire at the G. False alarm, thank goodness. Players didn't know what to do. Didn't help the Adelaide Football Club, but the fans didn't rush out. Like, I'd be a bit concerned if there was a genuine fire because there wasn't a lot of urgency.
What about before the game in that Collingwood-Adelaide clash? Bit cheeky from the Magpies banner. They sent a subtle message to you, Kane. The fun police.
Yeah, Kane calls the fun police. So, yeah, clearly hit a nerve somewhere, didn't I? But I noticed the GoPro was out again after the win. Isaac Quaynor had possession of that, but I must say that they tempered their celebrations a lot more than last week, which I like to see.
Well, Jack Ginnivan had a great game as
well.
Okay,
yeah, he was good today.
Well, still side bottom. I mean, he wasn't the most prolific today, but everything he did was effective.
Value for touch is what I'll say about Steele side bottom. So when we speak about possessions at times being meaningless and Boak and Butters and Wines and aim on getting a lot of it for Port Adelaide, 19 is maximum damage. And the thing I love about side bottom and the way that he's played his footy for the last 13 years is the defensive abilities as we're seeing here. A lot of midfielders today are one way. He's genuinely two way. Gets out, tackles, comes across, spoils, plays the wing position, goes to half forward if they need him, goes on ball, like that sort of stuff there. So to have him fit after, what was it, somewhat underwhelming season, he's been so consistent, but last year was a letdown. He just looks super fit, covering the ground as good as ever, and every time he gets the footy, it leads to something happening for Collingwood. So him and Howe and Pendlebury, as those experienced players with Adams and Moore, are going to be so important to guide this young group coming through and rebuilding.
I want to ask you about Adelaide's forward line. They made the decision to drop the number 2 pick, Riley Thilthorpe. Lockie Gallant comes into that side. You look at this stat here, this graph here. I don't think it's the smalls that are the issue. It's the key players, Elliot Himmelberg, Darcy Fogarty and Lockie Gallant that are the question marks around them because of the fact that they've dropped Riley Thilthorpe.
Yeah, couldn't believe they dropped him. And this isn't a hindsight call. This was a call that was made on Thursday and you go, hang on, you're going to go with Himmelberg again? Like, he's been in the system for a long time, 7 disposals last week. You're going to go with Fogarty again? Like, he's had 6 years, no impact again today, 5 kicks, no score, no goals, I should say, kicked 2 points. At some point, if you're rebuilding, you've got to play your brightest star. And yeah, hasn't been in great form, but after 1 week in the season, you're going to drop him and go with Gallant, who's, who knows, and Himmelberg's not going to be your future, and there's serious questions about Fogarty. So you just have to play your 200-centimetre key forward that you pick with pick 2 in the draft if you're a rebuilding squad. He'll get better the fact that he's out there. So they look a bit confused to me. I'd be really concerned if I was Matthew Nicks about the state of his list. Losing to Fremantle and Collingwood, there's going to be some hard games to come. Yeah. And they look miles off it, the Crows.
This was Matthew Nicks speaking about that decision to drop Riley Thilthorpe.
It's been the area for him. A young kid, he's in his second year. He's developing as a footballer. The decision's made for him to play a game of footy this morning, and he had an outstanding game at SNFL level. Try and find some of that confidence that he had when he was drafted and let him go at the ball hard. There's a balance on pumping a kid out there every week and not giving him any confidence to go and fight.
We'll head to the SCG now, where it's hard to remember that there was actually a game that broke out before Buddy kicked his 1,000th goal. And I want to highlight Callum Mills because you spent a lot of your time playing as a tagger, and he did a brilliant job on Patrick Dangerfield.
Yeah, he did. Dangerfield won possession in the first quarter. I mean, and how deflating is that for not only Dangerfield himself, but for the rest of the group? This is why I don't think the tactic is used enough, and I think, you know, Sydney and GWS use it better than any team in the competition. It can be a real weapon if you have a player that is willing to sacrifice their game, but also not be full-on shutdown. Like, he's ended up with the most disposals on the ground. Have a look at his discipline here. Yeah, the ball's there, but I've just got one eye on Dangerfield, one eye on the ball. Now, that's not easy to do, and it's certainly not easy to do it for full concentration for 120 minutes. And every time Dangerfield got it, he was smothered, he was ineffective. And then away from the footy, I didn't think Dangerfield worked anywhere near as hard enough. So I think he'll be disappointed reviewing the tape of his own game, Patrick Dangerfield, and Callum Mills definitely got him. And it won't be Mills every time, it'll be someone else that can do the job, but really disciplined performance from a very, very good footballer.
Patrick Dangerfield had 13 disposals. It was his lowest tally since he had 12 in the grand final in 2020. If we're talking full quarters and full games where he didn't get injured, his lowest since 2011. We'll head to Marvel Stadium on Thursday night now, where Carlton moved to 2-0 for the first time in a decade. And once again, it was driven by their captain, Patrick Cripps. He's added a new element to his game. So we've got the same Cripps that we know in terms of the clearance player, the contested ball winner, but he's added territory, he's added impact, he's added score involvements.
Look at the metres gained. Like, that's the one that strikes you, isn't it? Like 330 odd more metres gained than what he's had in the score involvements. And, you know, he can push forward and start to score goals, which is what he's done. He's a threat. Now, the way that he's covering the ground is also stunning for me. Like, he's got genuine speed. I don't think he's trying to do too much with the ball, and clearly he's got some more help around him. So I think if, you know, he has a teammate that is a better deliverer inside 50, he's more than willing to give it off. We saw that with Sam Walsh back into the side on Thursday night. So just such a well-rounded performance so far. He'd have 6 Brownlow votes, no worries at all. And if he keeps this going, it could be a really special season for the Carlton skipper.
Something that I know piqued your interest on Thursday night was how the Bulldogs navigated the stand rule. They went back instead of standing on the
I'm not sure this is what the AFL want, but have a look at Caleb Daniel here. We'll highlight him. So you can either go up and stand right on the mark, or you can come back off. Now, the Bulldogs did this a lot, but what that does, it doesn't allow any pressure on the kicker. And Carlton used the ball like this at will. Like, they're not a great ball-using team, I don't think, particularly the midfield, but they were on Thursday night because of that. That was one of the reasons, certainly. So I'm not sure. You've either got to be all the way back or you've got to be up on the mark. Yeah. And I thought the Bulldogs were sort of caught in no man's land on Thursday night.
I've noticed it has been a trend. A lot of teams are doing it. Carlton did it a lot on Thursday night. So it's probably one to watch for the rest of the season. But as you mentioned, when you do stand the mark, it cuts off that 45 kick into the middle, which Patrick Cripps on that occasion was able to do.
Yeah, so I think if you're going to come back, you've got to come back towards the middle of the ground. So you cut that 45 kick off, not just back for no reason, because then the player with the ball's got so much more time and space to make a more considered decision with the footy.
Take a look to the rest of the round now. It's going to be an interesting clash at Marvel Stadium tomorrow, with North going up against this decimated West Coast side, Richmond against the Giants, and Freo against the Saints.
Yeah, North Melbourne up against Waffle side, so David Noble, a bit of extra pressure that comes with that. Big omissions, Mackay's out, he's dropped Coleman Jones, he's dropped Jaden Stevenson, no Dusty for the Tigers, of course, and their other injuries with no Prestia and no Revolt. So huge game against the Giants, who were pretty good last week. And then the loser of the Fremantle-St Kilda game, I don't think Fremantle were great last week against Adelaide, and certainly the Saints weren't either, so it's a must-win for both of those.
There's a whole slate of VFL games on Sunday as well. Don't forget, you can stream every VFL match live as it happens on afl.com.au and the AFL Live official app. One more thing now. It was a big night for Buddy, but it was a big night for this man in the crowd who took an absolutely unbelievable grab to mark Buddy's 1,000th goal.
He did. Look at the commitment here from this. He nearly breaks his neck going down across under the seats. He's diving, he's spilling everything, he's, you know, ruffling a few feathers. There's a poor lady there with her child that doesn't look too impressed with it. And he says, "I've got the pill," and then he says, "I've got to get out of here."
Yeah.
So now we know him. I think Buddy would want that ball back.
He does.
And he'd want it back pretty quickly.
It will be returned.
It will be.
It will be. Sydney have got in touch with the fella.
What's the price?
Well, apparently he's going to training to present it to Buddy on Tuesday, but what did the guy
Tom Brady,
get?
Tom Brady gave that guy that got his touchdown ball a Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin's worth about, I don't know, 50 grand. So
I don't think you'd be getting that. All right, Kane, can it get any more dramatic?
Not yet. There's been some stunning upsets, big moments. It's been an outstanding start to the season. Look forward to the rest of the round and doing it all again with you next week.
Friday night doubleheader next week, so we'll get cracking then. See you then.